It's ChatGPT and Gemini and photo math. 5 years from now, it'll be something different. A few years ago, I felt the ground shift. As many of us, I got concerned about job security, which I thought was set. And suddenly I felt threatened by AI. And that fear got me moving. I enrolled in courses, read everything I could, and built my way back to clarity. I'm here to save you some time and to hand over the flashlight and say, here's what I've learned and what you might need to know. What I've seen is that AI isn't replacing us, it's waiting us for figure out how to steer it. This session has three purposes: to clear up the mystery around AI. It's less magic tricks and more like a math puzzle. To get hands-on, because knowing about AI isn't enough. Here's essentially the arc of our session. First, we'll look under the hood. We'll talk about how AI thinks using rules, guesses, and patterns. And then we'll try out some real examples, tools you can use at home, with students, or in your work. And finally, we'll tackle privacy. How much should we share with these tools, and where do we draw the line? You've already been living with AI, but also it's good to know that it's been around for decades, starting to change and accelerate in these last couple of years. Let me say this clearly: excited, confused, skeptical, it's all welcome. That's what today is about. Not just getting better at using AI, but building to experiment with it. Today, we'll make AI feel accessible and useful. Apps like Google Maps and Spotify are powered by AI. Amazon recommends products, Google Map predicts traffic, estimate arrival times, reroute based on real-time conditions. Spotify also does this by recommending music using AI-based personalizations. Let's start with a simple idea. AI isn't magic. It's not guessing the future or reading your mind. It's really good at recognizing patterns and then making its best guess at what should come next. Think of it like rolling the dice. Most of what you get from a tool like ChatGPT is a high probability guess based on everything it's seen before. It's not thinking like a person. It's predicting what word or sentence is likely to come next. Here's the part we don't talk about enough. You're actually in control. Once you understand how these systems work, you can steer them. The better your prompt, the better the output. You don't have to understand all the wiring. You just need to be willing. It's like seeing stars, but not constellations. Once you understand how AI recognizes patterns, you'll start to see connections where others see randomness, mental models. These are simple ways to explain how something works. Imagine you're trying to explain your emotions to a chatbot. It can't feel what you feel, but it can be trained to recognize signs of happiness or stress based off of how people type or talk. That's a model. It's a guess based on previous examples. Let's push that mental model a bit further. Imagine you give the AI a photo of yourself smiling. It's been trained to guess, oh, this person might be happy. But what if you're smiling through frustration? That's the danger with guesses. It might land in the ballpark, but it doesn't know the full story. This helps us understand how AI classifies emotions in different contexts. First, you can see it being mapped out across social ability, sentiment, and energy level. In reality, there might be millions, if not billions of acts. We're asking the AI to guess emotion, to detect meaning from tone, or to respond to how a sentence feels. This is where sentiment models come in. They look at your input and try to place it on a spectrum. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's way off. Let's bring in large models. These are the engines behind tools like ChatGPT and Gemini. They're built from examples, loads of them, millions of lines of text, feedback, and corrections. They don't even understand like humans do, but they've seen so much they can make convincing guesses. That's why they're useful and risky. We are actually dealing with something that is workable and usable. Let's make this practical. And one experiment you can try is to write a sentence. Ask the AI to continue the story, or write two versions, one with a happy tone, one with a serious, and ask it to match the style. You're not just using AI as a tool, you're treating it like a collaborator. You give it the vibe, the voice, the values, and it gives something back that you can shape. And AI can be confident, but sometimes wrong. Always double check. And now, aside from hallucinations, what are some challenges or concerns that you've had with AI? You mentioned something along the lines of critical thinking with your girls. Could you expand upon that?
I don't want them to get so good at searching AI, better at doing that than they are at thinking through something on their own, thinking through questions on their own or researching on their own.
Where would you draw the line? Okay, they're doing their own work or they're using tools versus this is something that the tool gave them.
For instance, if you're reading a book and they're asking, what are some of the main themes throughout this book or this chapter? That's something I would want them to be able to do without turning to AI. They're really not doing their own work.
Mhm. I would say that without knowledge about Johnny Tremaine or understanding what a fourth grade reading level is, we would have got something that we wouldn't be proud of putting it in a lesson. Skills like understanding what a theme is and how to apply those to different literary texts really make it their own. The next question is, when do we use a calculator and when do we practice things by hand? I think that's a really good question that we'll be getting into more as we go deeper as a society. We're going to test our first poll. And what I want to know is, what is more interesting to you? Full courses for yourself or full courses directly for your daughters? Another goal of mine is to give you practical resources you can use immediately for your homeschool or personal projects. So here's a big idea. AI doesn't think like us, but it often reflects us. It mirrors the patterns we've taught it. It can support learning, creativity, and connection. If we're careless, it can amplify confusion or bias. That's why today isn't just about tools, it's about values, about helping you see AI as not a replacement, but a reflection and asking what you want it to reflect. Let's bring in a core idea. Tokens. Think of them like Lego bricks. Every time you speak to an AI, you're giving it bricks to build with. The more specific, the clearer your intent. The stronger the structure it can create. Sometimes it builds castles. Sometimes it builds nonsense. The key is when it's just stacking pieces and to help it build something more human. AI isn't magic, it's math. Each one of these words would get some type of identification, which we call a token. And periods count, commas count, all those different things matter. Let's return to hallucinations for a moment. One way to avoid hallucinations is to use boundaries. You can give the model clear guidelines. Only respond with sources. You're teaching the tool how to think, not just what to say. Let's be honest. Sometimes these tools pull us in. How do you stay grounded? Keep the goal in mind. Remember, garbage in equals garbage out. Let's shift the metaphor. AI works the same way. It's just one tool in your tool belt. Let's take a quick tangent and look at how people are actually using this today. Lesson planning, summarizing research, and many educators are using it for differentiation. So here's a quick side by side. ChatGPT has had more public use, more feedback loops, and more polish. Gemini, Google's tool, has deep integration. Think Google Docs, even YouTube. The downside, the line between private and public gets blurry fast. So we need to tread carefully. The risk, it also sees a lot of what you're doing, what you search, what you say, what you write. We'll talk more about privacy soon, but keep that trade-off in mind. What you gain in ease, you might give up in oversight. Every time you use these tools, you'll leave a trail, a digital exhaust. It includes what you typed, how you phrased it, even what you hesitated over. Companies can use this to make tools better, but they can also use it to target you, shape your experience, or sell you something. We have to know it's happening because awareness is the first step towards agency.
Mm.
ChatGPT, Gemini is Google's product. It's the same concepts, operates in a lot of the same ways. Gemini is a little bit stronger in multimedia, visuals, photo methods, but it's only focused on one specific thing, which is solving math problems. Let's look at different examples. I'm going to show you what that looks like, and I'll give some more specific guardrails. You're going to see role, task, and guardrails are the three constraints and parameters I'm going to use to help guide this. So here I'm adding the PDF. The prompt is there to go ahead of time. And the concept is giving it the inputs, reference, and the guardrails. It's able to come up with a decent answer. It's not just documents and text. What I didn't show here is that in this PDF is an Amazon list. I asked it to create a sum total. One of the parents I'm working with didn't know the total. And this is something they could have done quickly. You can also use spreadsheets, whether it's Google Sheets or Excel. This is the photo math one. Here we're taking a picture of a math problem. And starts to walk us through very different examples. These are all things that are alive, working, and something we can rely on today. I have a cheat sheet with these different tips and tools. I also put these down into a cheat sheet for you. What I'd like you to do is to try and see if you can summarize chapter 1 about Britain's empire from Story of the World, right?
We have, yeah.
Just come up with a short lesson plan, like something that you could do 5 minutes before you're going to teach. I just want you to take the first thought that comes to mind, first gut reaction, and think about whether this type of information would be safe to put in the ChatGPT. Here's a tension we all face, whether we want AI to feel tailored to us, but we don't want to give up our privacy. And that's the trade-off. The more data you share, the more personalized the experience feels, but every detail you share, your height, your school, your likes, adds to the trail. The more specific it gets, the more you should pause and decide, is this worth it? I just want to come back to one and have a quick discussion about it. What about grade level? What do you think about grade level?
That was one that gave me a little bit of pause just because I'm thinking, projecting what age children basically live in my home. And that makes me a little uncomfortable. Then I'm thinking about some of the examples you gave, and to get specific to what I'm trying to teach, you do need to give a grade level. I don't really know how you get around that.
But if we don't give the grade level, then AI could veer. So that's
Right.
a trade-off. Or even with work samples, right? What's dangerous about work samples? Grade level, what else?
It could give personal information about your kid, depending on what the sample is.
One off the top of my head is if it's a geography assignment and it says, where do you live? And you write down where you live. That's kind of scary. If we leave names or dates or things like that on there, that can be something that can be tracked back to us. But generally, grade level is something that, as long as the AI doesn't get the rest of our information about who we are, and we protect that, which is a skill that we also, I think, is really important to develop with our kids. How do we keep ourselves safe? Grade level is actually one, as long as they don't have all that information, that one's going to be super helpful. As long as can't combine 6th grade plus location, right?
Yep.
6th grade plus beliefs or whatever it is. Those are the information that we want to be careful about. As a general rule, whatever we're thinking, when thinking through what's safe to share with us, and start with this rule of thumb, treat public AI like a public forum. If you wouldn't post it on Reddit, don't type it in a chatbot. Stick to general questions, creative prompts, or data that doesn't tie back to you. When in doubt, leave it out. Would you feel okay if your child typed in your address, salary, or personal info into a public site? When we use free tools, our data can be saved or used to train the model. Read the terms. Sometimes the model gets smarter using your content. Sometimes it just stores it. We can teach kids to think about their digital footprint too. Instead of saying, don't use it, try helping them frame how to use it. Use fake names, avoid sharing birth dates, don't put in real contact information. And let's clear this up. When AI remembers, it's not like your brain remembering. Some tools now have features that look like long-term memory. It saves what you said. Let's say your students are writing stories or doing research. Do they need to use the real names? No. Teach your kids to use pseudonyms, fake names, fictional places. You're not just protecting identity, you're building digital resilience. Let's take a moment to look inside these tools. A memory function, every prompt, every reply, it's stored. So here's a habit to build. Check your settings, see what it remembers, and decide what you're okay with. I've been using AI for several years. I know that they know. Want a quick exercise you can do at home or with kids? Make a list together of what's safe to put in a tool like ChatGPT and what's not. This helps build awareness. It shifts the focus from don't use it to use it wisely. You can start to experiment more confidently. Some information isn't risky. It's helpful. Things like favorite books, school subjects, or what kind of project you're working on. These can guide the AI and make it more useful. You're giving it the map, but not your home address. It's about knowing what kind of data is fuel and what kind of data is fingerprint. Once we know what's safe to share, deciding what's strategic to share. Let's zoom out for a second. What about parental controls outside of AI? Screen time settings, browsing filters, these still matter. They form the fence. AI is the new field inside of it. How AI can help your kids get ready for a changing world. Jobs are shifting, roles are evolving, and tools like ChatGPT are shaping the way we learn, write, and work. Getting fluent now is a gift to your future self and your kids. Thank you for showing up. I know it's a lot to absorb, but this moment we're living through, it's not just about tech, it's about transformation. You don't need to master it all today. You just need to stay curious. This is a new terrain for a lot of us. And the fact that you showed up already puts you ahead.